Baba Hello, hello, hello chat. Vacation until 9th April. Will be open on 10th April again. The local Chinese spot. Is the audio working? Let's check. Hey, hey, good evening. We are just walking today. Walking around. Keep the legs moving.
Ja, ik dacht, ik wil wel weer een bakje.
Did some basic kettlebell stuff yesterday. And it had been a while, so got the DOMs. Last bit of sun. Yeah, it's almost as if I'm getting it right during the transition time. Got a tiny little library here. Let's see what they've got. Mastering regular expressions. Ha ha ha. Look at that. IPv6 stuff. Learning MySQL. TCP/IP stuff. Lots of computer stuff here. That's cool. Doesn't close all the way. There we go. Analog internet, yeah. I mean, books for changing bits of technology, I don't know, that doesn't really make any sense. Obviously there are all kinds of timeless books, but who even reads a book for MySQL? That's a bit bizarre. Unless there are like some super clever theories out there or approaches or whatever. I don't know. The train tracks look kind of cool from here. That bit of sunlight over there, that looks fun. WSS, hello, hello, what's up? MySQL for Dummies, yeah. That whole sequence of books was pretty popular back in the day. And this is the view of the track from up top. That's where the tiny library was, somewhere there. Where are we? Look at the top left section of your screen, right here. That's where we are. I wanted to get out today, but oh my god. I know that I've given up on waiting because it just drags on every time. If it's like not there by the time I want to leave, I just like redirect it to wherever. But I know exactly what you're talking about. One half mile already, it should another half hour post now. Bloody hell, yeah. It's a good looking country, WS. It's a good looking country. Speaking of parcels, I finally got the inner bar ends. I need to do like a test ride on it. Just installed it today, but haven't gotten the bike out yet. Look at this dog. Yeah, I tried out like a few settings on it, and on that bike with the current cockpit setup and stuff, at least in theory, just sitting on the bike and seeing what feels good, it felt better to run it just right beside the handlebar grips, so in between the shifters and the brake levers and the handlebar grip, because I think that's where I was naturally putting my hands for resting, but we'll see. Yeah, they seem to fit well. They seem to fit pretty nice. They're not too long. They're the right size. But yeah, I need to do like at least an hour ride to get a feel for it. You're working on bike sharing systems in your master's degree paper. Nice. Yeah. I mean, there's like tons of YouTube channels focused on the whole bike infrastructure systems in the Netherlands. A classic one, as you might already know, not just bikes. And the other one is, what is the other one? I forget. It's by a Dutch guy, which is pretty popular as well.
Lees en voor
Gotta change the angle a bit too after the first ride. Yeah, I'm expecting that I'll have to play around a bunch. Top notch. Yeah, Bicycle Dutch is the other one. Boop, 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 boop. Do, 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 do. Come on, what's taking so long? Hey, Havens, what's up? Nah, today is a walking day. They're just walking around. $14 degrees. Can't live. 40. As in, it's too cold or too hot? Is this like a nice weather? Yeah, this is considered nice weather considering the sun is out and it's not super windy or chilly. Yeah, because the last couple of months it had been cold and raining, whatnot. It was a bit miserable. But that's just how it is. There's no point in pondering or talking about it for too long, really. parcel arrived. Garmin. Which one did you end up getting? The one with the solar charging? $14 is peak winter for you. Are you coming from Latin America or Asia? HX 2. Okay, that's the one you mentioned before, I think. Try to guess. Not from Latin America, not from Asia, and you think 14 degrees Celsius is too cold? Or rather, peak cold. South of the US. Florida maybe otherwise, or Texas, Florida. Or maybe, if not, Australia. It does get cold in certain parts of Australia though, I think. My Australian geography is pretty limited. You wish. Alright, what else have we got? We covered the big. Is it North America? Let's do elimination. Is it North America or not? North Africa. Dang. We were doing elimination via chunks. We didn't get to Africa yet. Oh my god, having charging issues again. Can't tell if it's the cable or my charger. Which part of which country in North Africa? Is the water in the little river clean? Well, it's clean per. It's not a river. It's just I don't know what you would call it. I just call everything a water body. It's not clean enough to drink, but you could go take a dip if you want. But I suppose if you're really thirsty and if you have some kind of a filtering system, you could boil it and then put it through the thing. But I can show you the current state of it. Algeria. That's the current state. So, yeah, it's not potable water. Accidental being like in the middle of the city. Yeah. These are all just, this is a residential area. Check it out, chat. We got a little something here. Oh, look at that guy. We got a doggo. The dog is doing its business the way we are. I thought the dog was gonna fall into the water. There he goes. Yo, Team Germany in the house. Oh, what's up? What app do you use to control the cameras? Moblin. Moblin on iOS. He looked busy, yeah. We are just taking a walk today. Walking around our little town. He's in training. Hi. 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 What was that again?
Is it on
Nah, yeah, I'm streaming.
yeah.
Yeah.
Live?
Yeah.
I hope it's good for the views.
Yeah. What's his name?
Edo.
Edo.
Or Edo.
Edo.
Edo, yeah.
Edo. Hey,
Edo.
Edo.
He's still young. I'm practicing.
Yeah. Teaching him
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I have to be patient because he's always pulling my arm off.
I see.
He's so strong.
Yeah.
Where you from?
I live in Groningen.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, just walking around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Edo. Okay.
Good.
All right, later.
Edo, come.
It's going good, just for a change. More than the Twitch app. Moblin is like a whole production unit. Twitch is just the Twitch app. Moblin is like a full-on IRL production unit. And I'm like streaming to YouTube and Kick as well. Yeah, they're like different use cases. Yeah, people are nice. It's a tool shop, chat. Check it out, chat. You have that knife. Only with Somalia. I used to have one. Don't have it anymore. I just have another tiny single shaft blade nano thing. But I'm not even carrying it every day. It's just there. Yeah, it's a pretty nice evening today. 14 degrees Celsius, 6:30. An indicator of what's to come. Da, da, da. People are already eating their dinner at restaurants. The weather is the same there. Yeah. Yep. Wall tags. Yeah, it's pretty safe up here. Also, it's a pretty small city. Yeah, in general, it's a safe country, but you just gotta be careful no matter where you are. I don't think the tags are by gang members. They're just, that's my assumption. The tags are just by people who want to tag things. What the hell? Why are the pedestrian lights taking so long today? Yeah, that light and my charging issues with my phone again. I think it's a cable. Because it seems to be charging only at a certain angle. It's a bit hard. Of course, that's the way it works. The car is blocking our view. Wanted to show something. The wheelbarrow trolley thing is down. Yeah, you could cut the road, but I mean, there are lots of people around and there's a bit of traffic. But if it's slow traffic, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be the one who's going to tell you to not cut the road. But obviously, if you're in Germany, don't do it. They're not gonna like it. But Netherlands is a bit different compared to Germany, so legally you're not supposed to. The rest is up to you. I think the connection just failed because that thing is connected generally to the axle of the rear wheel. I don't know what happened there. That's my assumption. Yeah, and also I don't like things like dragging things from behind because you can't really see what's going on. At least it's a smaller wagon, so it's not that bad. Yeah, up front cargo is the way to go. at least in that format. Because I remember once I was riding a bike when I was younger, and I don't know, one of my classmates or whoever was sitting at the back, and she fell off. I didn't even realize that she fell off the bike. So I just went on my merry way, and she was on the road. But that's most likely because she was like super thin, so it's kind of hard to tell when the weight is off. Yeah, and also if it's a through axle versus a quick release, I think if it's a through axle, it's probably better if you're carrying your stuff that way in a tiny wagon behind you. But I don't know. I would assume a through axle to be better than a quick release in that case. No special destination per se. Initially I did think of where was I going? I'm mixing up my phrases here. There was a thought of actually going to the local park, so I did think about going there, but then I ditched that idea and I'm just freestyling it now. So we're just walking on the roads we don't generally tend to walk on. Because, yeah, whenever I come this way, it's mostly on the bike. This is someone's house, or does it lead somewhere? Looks to be someone's house. Alright, we'll turn left on the next available street. You're gonna break your fasting? Alright, good luck with that. Later. In that one restaurant talking about kimbap. That restaurant is closed. They're on a vacation. But I got food at home. I did a lot of keeping about last summer because I didn't have a proper setup to cook and stuff at that point. And I didn't have a refrigerator. We got the tools now. And we got the food. We got food at home. I said next left, but I'm gonna turn right. No, I mean we got a proper setup now. There's a kitchen. Yeah, last year was mostly it was mostly stuff I didn't have to like cook. So it was lots of cheese and dried sausages, or cheese and prosciutto, and a bunch of keeping out from the Chinese restaurant. Skyr storage unit, oh yeah. I've been eating so much skyr. Yeah, I also got, as an addition, I got a bunch of skyr pouches for portable options. We'll see how that goes. It's a bit too thick for the pouch form, but we'll see. Villa bird sounds a little bit too expensive to live. Oh yeah, this area has a bunch of villas. Villa. Cheese, that's uncommon in the Netherlands. Yeah. But funny thing is I've mostly eaten only Spanish cheese in the last year and a half, which is manchego. Or a bunch of Italian stuff. Yeah, I like hard cheeses. I'm not a huge fan of softer ones. I mean, as in I don't really go out of my way to buy the softer ones. I remember this area. I came to this area for walking when I walked a marathon last winter. I think it was like the last but one 5-kilometer walk. I couldn't see anything though because it was at night. Oh, Amsterdam. Well, Spanish cheese, you get manchego everywhere. Manchego is like classic. Because I used to know a guy from Valencia. He would always get a kick out of me saying manchego. Because that's like such a staple for them. Yeah, I need to venture out more into the local cheeses. I mean, I've eaten them, but hey, what are you two doing there? They're just hanging. What are you two doing there, dogs? They're just ducking around. I think kids are playing basketball here, if I'm not wrong. This whole thing seems like some kind of a community housing situation. Quack at them. Quack. Why they're always so loud. That's just in their nature. Alright, the cat doesn't want to interact. A tiny cow. They only understand Dutch. Learn Duckish. Alright, I'm gonna try and interact with the ducks next time. Yeah, these kind of residential areas with a wider road are always they're all, I guess, houses full with families and such. There's a garage here with bikes in there. I was about to change the camera, but people came out of the garage. It's not a garage, it's a garage. They had 2 Cannondales in there. What's this thing? Let's turn around. What's the blue thing? What is that? A train? What's that? Alright, even this cat doesn't want to talk. Gotta learn all the animal languages. Oh, McDonald. Yeah. Well, how does the song go? Old MacDonald had a farm. Dee 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 dee. Something like that. It's a building. It looked like the top of an Arriva train from behind, like from far, from out there. How do we get out on the grass? Gotta walk all the way around. Okay. All right, Chad, let's see if we have got any good podcasts available. Yeah, this is kind of shit. What? Did I kill the app? What the fuck?
Honestly, I don't really like guiding. Because guiding means you're doing things for people. And I don't want to do things for people. I want to help educate them so they can do things for themselves. I want people to have a good foundation, a solid foundation. You could be a very strong climber and all these things, but how does that help someone else? where I can actually teach them the knots that they need in a way that helps them learn, and then build in transformers from that activity to their everyday life.
Philip Henderson is a legendary outdoor instructor, adventurer, and mentor. He spent 30 years leading expeditions and teaching sports like whitewater rafting, skiing, climbing, and mountaineering. Philip doesn't just train everyday folks, he also teaches the teachers. He's worked with Sherpas and experienced guides in major mountaineering destinations like Tanzania and Nepal. In 2020, Philip received the Outdoor Afro Lifetime Achievement Award, and in 2022, he became well known for leading the first all-black team up Mount Everest. All of Philip's work circles back to the same mission, to mentor the next generation of outdoor athletes. I'm Shelby Stanger, and this is Wild Ideas Worth Living, an REI Co-op Studios production presented by Capital One and the REI Co-op MasterCard. Philip Henderson, welcome to Wild Ideas Worth Living. You've had many, many wild ideas, so we're excited to have you on.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. Yeah.
And you're probably one of the most recommended guests we've ever had. I mean, there's been so many people we've had who are like, you should interview Philip. Like, he's the man.
Huh. Interesting.
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 Okay, let's start at the beginning. How did you get into mountaineering and the outdoors?
Oh boy.
Oh
you know,
boy.
really, I think it's kind of inside from a long time ago. But fishing was my first passion. My uncle took me fishing when I was young. And I think that kind of opened the door of curiosity, you know. But in my professional life, I guess you could say, it really happened by accident. You know, I like fishing, and I think I had gone skiing once or twice, but I played football in college, and I fractured a vertebrae in my neck, and I was on disability for the next year and a half, with a lot of time to think about things. And I decided, you know, I'm going to do anything and everything that I want to do in life because it's short and it can stop at any moment. And so I went back to fishing.
Okay, how did that happen? Like, how did you go back to fishing?
Right, so there was a state park that I had gone to even just a couple weeks before, or maybe a month with a teammate. We had hiked in this state park to go fishing. And so that was the first time I had been backpacking. And so when I could do things like, well, what can I do that I can do by myself? I don't need other people. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go back and go hiking at that lake again. And so I started doing these backpacking trips to this lake. It was about a 10-mile hike. And I found out about a volunteer program they had there, doing interpretive hikes, telling people about the wildflowers and the cultural history and where springs are and things. And that really was like, oh, okay. Well, that was what a ranger. I was 20-something years old. That was my introduction to a state park and a ranger. And so I would just go and volunteer a day of work just to tell people where water is or what wildflowers were or something. And so one day I went to buy a pair of boots, and I went into the North Face store and I asked this guy, this outdoor stuff, where do you look?
We got a voice break. Yeah, the better stories out there, instead of continuously listening to my voice, I suppose.
You learn more of that stuff. He gave me 2 telephone numbers, one to Knowles and one to Outward Bound. And I had to call for to get the catalog sent in the mail, because you couldn't just go on the internet at the time and find things. And the Knowles catalog came in the mail first. And when I looked at it, that was how I was exposed to backcountry skiing or caving or mountaineering. I didn't know what those things were at that time until I looked at that. And so, being where I was in life, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. It's expensive, but I worked at Costco it was Price Club at the time, but I worked there for almost 10 years. And
yeah, it's a podcast.
Through, you know, these changes in life and so on, I just realized, man, that's not something I want to do the rest of my life. I want to do something else. And this is one of the things I'm going to do. Where it's going to lead, I don't know. And so I hustled a little bit, but I was like, I'm going to do this. And I took a semester course at Knowles, and the rest is history in that sense.
For those who don't know, Knowles stands for National Outdoor Leadership School. It's an immersive wilderness program that teaches participants how to thrive in the wild and work together as a team. In 1992, when he was 27 years old, Philip left for a semester-long Knowles program in the Rocky Mountains. During his time there, he decided to pursue a career in the outdoors. Do you have any stories from that time that you remember? Wide-eyed Philip Henderson,
Yeah,
like
it's not a story.
first time whitewater rafting or rock climbing or anything.
Okay, we'll go to the first one, the whitewater rafting. I hated it. It was no joke. Okay, see, this is where stories come out. I hated whitewater rafting, kayaking. It was the first time I ever done that. I remember I had got an ear infection while we were on the river. I spent more time in a kayak upside down than I did right side up, so that's not comfortable. But after that course, I didn't go back to work at Costco. I ended up going to work at REI.
Whoa, that's weird. I didn't know this.
Right. So, a long story short,
Is
I
this
just
whole
happened
thing
to
an
be standing
elaborate
at
marketing
the register
campaign
when
for
a guy walked
REI?
in and
This is kind of
he wanted
boring.
to- he would
So in other words, this business, I think, is not as famous, actually, as Munich or the attack on Poland. I think really, really matters. And Chamberlain at first doesn't quite get it. He gives a speech in the House of Commons that's very perfunctory and doesn't quite match the mood of the moment. But then, 2 days later, which is the 17th of March, he goes to give a speech in Birmingham, of course, the Chamberlain stronghold. And he clearly, by this point, has changed his tune, because he strikes his hardest line yet. He says, it's very clear now, Hitler intends, and I quote, to dominate the world by force. If that's right, we will stop him. He says Britain will take part to the utmost of its power in resisting such a challenge if it were made. And I think here, actually as in 1938, he speaks for the nation. He's reflecting the public mood. You can see it in papers and letters and diaries in Britain and in France. With this attack on Czechoslovakia, Hitler really has crossed the line and there is no going back now. We know what kind of man he is.
And so now Chamberlain's looking for, he's abandoned Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
But is there another country where he can kind of draw a red line along its border?
Exactly. He's saying, where are we going to draw the line? And the very next day, 18th of March, he meets his cabinet and he says exactly that. Like, okay, we draw the line now. One more step, and it is war. Where will Hitler's next challenge come? Chamberlain is in no doubt. The key to the future of Europe, he says, will be Poland.
Right. So let's take a break now.
Now, I think there are like 30 more minutes left in that podcast. Hold on a second. Let me find something. It's the same thing, but you still got some let's see if this one has a new episode or not.
And
Nah.
when we're back, we
Yeah.
will come at last to the country where, as everyone listening to this will know, the Second World War begins. Hello, welcome back to The Rest is History. It's been a long sweep, hasn't it? This history of the rise of the Nazis, going to power, the road to the Second World War, and now at last the Second World War is hoving into view because we have come to the country for which Britain and France went to war to defend it, and that, of course, is Poland.
Yes, so Poland. Polish History 101. Poland had vanished from the map of Europe after 1795 for more than 120 years. It had been partitioned between the empires, as lots of people will know, between the empires of Russia, Prussia and Austria. And Poland got its independence back at the end of the First World War, and it's one of the largest countries in Central Europe. It's 31 million people. But Poland, unlike Czechoslovakia, is very, very rickety. So, because it's been carved out of 3 different empires, nothing is joined up. It doesn't even have a joined up railway network.
Because they've all got different gauges.
Yeah, exactly. It's very rural, by and large. A lot of it is very poor. A lot of the First World War in the East was fought in Poland, so it's scarred by war. Like a lot of Central European countries, it has an issue with minorities. Basically, it's meant to be an ethnic nation state, but you can't draw the boundaries perfectly.
So they don't feel that diversity is their strength.
They do not feel that diversity is their strength. Only about 2/3 of the population are ethnic Poles. So if you look at the census, there's about 4 million Ukrainians. There are 3 million people who are identified in the census as Jews. There are 1 million Belarusians. There are almost 1 million Silesian Germans.
And that, I guess, is the key thing for Hitler.
Of course. In fact, again, unlike Czechoslovakia, or far more than Czechoslovakia, none of Poland's neighbours like it. Everybody thinks it's illegitimate. Everybody contests its borders. And it's an extraordinary thing that in the 3 years after 1918, the Poles fought 6 separate frontier wars.
Well, I guess, I mean, if...
The question is rather where and when will Hitler be your... yeah.
I mean, if it's been reconstituted out of the territory of great empires,
Yeah.
great powers, then, I mean, that's inevitable, isn't it?
Of course it is. They pretty much fight every single one of their neighbours. Most famously, the Soviet Union. They turn them back in the miracle on the Vistula when they defeat the Bolsheviks. You know, it's a terrible thing for the Poles. They're trapped between 2 much larger, much richer neighbours, both of whom regard Poland as illegitimate, and they are Germany and the Soviet Union.
And you would have to say that being trapped between Stalin and Hitler is not to have been served first prize in the lottery of life, geopolitically, is it?
No, it's not. To pick up an analogy that we mentioned in the last week's series about Munich, it's rather like you're on that plane strapped between Goering and Ribbentrop. And actually things don't get any better for the Poles. They suffer massive inflation and unemployment in the 1920s and 30s. 1 million people emigrate, mostly to the United States. They can't sustain their democracy. So there's a coup in 1926 by the great wartime nationalist
What's going
hero,
on here?
Marshal Pilsudski.
Something is happening there with the guys on the fat bike and the police. Alright, back to Poland.
And then they have an authoritarian regime called the Sanacja regime, which is the kind of healing regime. And this is a kind of nationalist authoritarian regime. The key person in this is probably the foreign minister called Josef Beck. Beck is a Calvinist, very unusually for a Pole, and he's a kind of very clever saturnine man, but everybody hates him.
Well, except for Goering, I gather.
Did Goering like him?
Yeah, he did, because Beck had served in the German cavalry, I think,
Right.
during the war, and was very pro-German. Like you, he strongly disliked the French.
Oh my word.
Yeah, the
Inevitably, he
police
disliked the Russians.
Right. So Goring's a funny man.
on
isn't
their
he? He's a strange
motorbikes.
man.
Henderson, Beck and Goering, they'd all had a great time going shooting things.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, Czechoslovakia was a democracy.
Yeah.
And presumably that was part of why they were allies with Britain and France.
Is it important that Poland isn't?
Poland isn't.
Yeah.
Is that an issue?
I don't think it's a massive issue deep down, because of course there are lots of countries at this point that are not democracies. And I think it would have been an easier sell if it was. But actually the French, for example, the French are very Polonophile and have been for a very long time.
Yeah, Chopin.
They regard themselves as having a kind of special relationship with Poland. And in Britain, do people say, oh, the Poles, really? They're not a democracy? I don't think they do, actually. I don't think they give it that much thought deep down.
Probably know anything about the Poles.
I don't think they really care what kind of government they have. The interesting thing is what Hitler and the Germans make of the Poles. So most Germans hold the Poles in very, very low regard. So in the 19th century, when a lot of Poland, of course, had been part of the Wilhelmine Reich, Kaiser's regime, they had looked down on the Poles. The Germans had said, well, the Poles are very backward, the Poles are very superstitious, they're very stupid. They actually had an expression, Polenwirtschaft, Polish business, which meant kind of muddle and incompetence. You know, they sort of looked on them. I suppose the analogy would be how people in the late 19th century in Britain talked about Ireland, actually, as a kind of, you know, oh, they can never govern themselves. They're so disorganised and they're so backward and primitive, blah, 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 blah. That's how Germans think of the Poles. Even in the 1920s, lots of Germans said, look, in the long run, Poland will have to cease to exist again. There's no way we can live with a country called Poland on our eastern border. I mean, the head of the army of the Weimar Republic, General Hans von Seeckt, in 1922, said, Poland's existence is intolerable and incompatible with Germany's vital interests. It must and it will disappear through its own weakness and, with our help, through Russia.
So even then, the Germans are thinking that perhaps they should carve it up with the Russians.
Yeah, because they have done before, like the partitions of the 1790s.
But even though it's actually, of course, not Russia anymore, it's the Soviet Union.
But they think, you know, it's kind of the law of nature and of history that the Poles never govern themselves. A bit like, you know, the Kurds don't have a state. They'll be one of those people who never get a state of their own.
Okay, and so one guy who's very keen on this idea that the strong must prey on the weak is Hitler. What is his take on the Poles?
Well, this is fascinating. Hitler, who of course later on is perceived as incredibly anti-Polish, he doesn't have a strong view about Poland at all before 1938. He barely mentions Poland in Mein Kampf. And the obvious reason for this is that, of course, Hitler is not German. I mean, Hitler is Austrian.
Yeah, he's much further south, isn't he? So that's why he hates the Czechs.
Yeah. So he never really thinks about the Poles. Why would he? When he's in Vienna, the Galician Poles aren't massively playing on his mind. He doesn't care to think about Warsaw and all of that kind of stuff. And actually, in January 1934, he had overruled Conservatives in the Foreign Office to sign a non-aggression treaty with Poland because he wanted to secure his eastern flank.
But, I mean, people are always talking about these non-aggression pacts and things.
Yeah, meaningless.
They are meaningless, aren't they?
They're totally
I mean,
meaningless.
They're not worth the paper they're written on.
No, unless you're Neville Chamberlain, in which case you love a piece of paper. But I think it's fair to say Adolf Hitler is not a man who adheres to a non-aggression pact. I think that's the one lesson we can all take from this, from these 3 seasons on Nazis.
But generally, I mean, do other powers stick by them? I mean, if the Soviet Union signs a non-aggression pact, for instance, I mean, were that to happen?
Yeah.
Do they think, yeah, we should stick with this, or is that kind of bourgeois legalism?
I think it depends on the country, doesn't it? I think if I signed a non-aggression pact with Stalin, I wouldn't necessarily have a great deal of confidence in his word. If I signed a non-aggression pact with Neville Chamberlain or Daladier,
Then you would.
I would. Wouldn't you?
Yes, I would, but I mean, all these non-aggression pacts that everyone is furiously signing with Germany and
Yeah.
the Soviet Union, I mean, it just seems a waste of effort.
They've wasted their time, Tom. I think it's fair to say.
Good, right, I'm glad I've got that sorted.
Right. So, what does Hitler want to do with Poland? He's absolutely, even at the beginning of 1939, I'm not sure he's thinking about attacking and conquering it. He's thinking that Poland will just be a satellite. Basically turn it into a client state, which is what he does with Slovakia and what he does with Hungary. Bind Poland to him as a loyal ally in the crusade against Bolshevism. And actually, you can see why he thinks he could do that. They have an authoritarian nationalist regime. The Poles had rather let themselves down at Munich.
Yeah, so Hitler's given them a chunk of Czechoslovakia.
He has. The old Silesian Duchy of Teschen.
Not the Silesian Duchy of Teschen.
Yeah, the Czechs and the Poles had fought each other for this in 1919. The Czechs had got it, and then the Poles snatch it back at the end of 1938.
This actually makes them all pretty pro-German, doesn't it? And they all kind of rush around Warsaw shouting out, "Long live Hitler."
Right, and actually there's a very famous moment. So 2 days after Munich, they got it, and the Poles went in, and the Czech general who handed it over to them, he said to the Polish general, well, you better make the most of this, because I'll tell you what, you're going to be next. And the Poles are like, ha ha ha, that will never happen. And how wrong they were. Anyway.
They find a bag already for the handlebar. Yeah, I found one today. But I don't know, it's not that I don't have something which is gonna work. But we'll see. We'll see what I want to do. But for the camping session for this month I want to do, I might just run the one I have. But yeah. Yeah, I've been itching to get out for a camping session. So it's most likely gonna be next weekend. Yo, Street, what's up? Check this out, chat. Will you look at that? The quacking. So what's up, Street? How have you been? How have you been? You're just walking around today. Listening to a podcast.
Anyway, 3 weeks after that moment, Ribbentrop asks the Polish ambassador, a man called Mr. Lipski.
Bag. Nah, it just sounds kind of stupid. they're like all sorts of people on their bikes. I need to practice in private so that I'm confident enough to get the sound out. I'll practice in private for a few days and then we'll see. You did a ride stream yesterday? Nice. Yeah, the weather is getting better for sure. Yeah, going back to the duck quacking. I'm gonna practice it in private so that I have the confidence to be a bit stupid outside. Because just saying quack quack doesn't cut it. Then I'm gonna respond back. Oxa with the puns. Duck podcast. Hoi. In May, I'm doing an event, a local event. It's a new event. It's kind of like an alley cat for bikepacking. It's called Wild Card. And wildcard.rally is the Instagram username. should be fun. The rules and stuff are all on the Instagram page. Look at this cat, chat. Look at this cat. Keep finding cats everywhere. Should we walk this way? I guess so, because the other side is like under construction. Chad, this is the viewpoint we were on a couple of days ago. So there's like a bunch of stairs, you climb it up, and there's a spot to sit there. I'm not doing it today, but it's kind of fun. Hey. Is the bike still inside? No. No bike. Bike is gone. No bike. We are walking back towards the center. Oh, look at that. One tap and I get a green light. Wouldn't it be nice if our lives were like that? Just one tap and you're good to go. $100K or the $150K? Well, it really depends, right? We got 10 hours, and since the route is not fixed, I could even just do a $50K, but get a lot of climbing in. So yeah, those are just the scenarios, but there's no fixed route. Basically got 10 hours 9 o'clock in the morning till like 7 in the night. It's gonna be in the Veluwe region, and of course I'm gonna stream the thing. At least that's the idea now. But the route making process would be fun, because what I'm gonna do to make it actually fun for myself would be to make it mostly off-road, like as much as I can. But I'm gonna go on Climb Finder and find all the possible climbs in that area and then put them together. So I don't really care about much about the distance. We'll see. With these kind of stuff, the route making process is as much fun, I suppose. We're gonna put the route together, chat. I'm gonna stream the route setup. Climb Finder, never used that. Yeah, it's I think it's local to Europe. I'm not quite sure, but most likely. Climbfinder.com. It's actually set up by the local guys here in the Netherlands. I think he's up in somewhere close to Deventer or something like that. And of course that event has points for picking up trash and whatnot, I guess. Yeah, basically it's just an alley cat kind of thing. Let's cross the road here, chat. Let's cross the road. Search for that climb here. yeah. Especially in the Netherlands, because there are like some tiny sections here and there. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to know. I already did one province. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see if I can find it, chat. Can I do a search on here? Why doesn't the... There we go. Share. Copy. Link. There it is. There it is, chat. That's the one wherein I used Climb Finder to link up climbs in a province. And that project is an ongoing project. We have still got more provinces. But I have deferred that to the summer so that I have so more time each day, more daylight. Alright, we're almost back, chat. We're almost back. Today's gonna be a short stream. I wanted to rest a bit, but also wanted to keep my legs moving. Otherwise, it's just gonna be worse tomorrow. Yeah, we're almost back to the base camp. I don't know what this building is. I've seen some people inside before, but check it out, chat. It's a real beauty. Here it is. Looks old. Yeah, I think it looks like some kind of monumental house. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. So if we go this way, we go to the station. That's where the station is. Pretty close by. I mean, it's a small town / city, so everything is close by anyway. Which is nice. A couple of super cool looking streets here. Let's take those streets. But hope, I don't know if they're gonna be lit or not. It's probably just gonna be dark. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of everything being close by. I don't know, part of the reason could be that I grew up with that kind of setting. Wherein you have a barber or like a hairdresser or whoever around the corner. This one or the next one? But that's how most Asian countries are set up. If you're not living in some kind of posh area. Oh shit. Oh shit, chat. Let's take this and go through the streets in between. The hell, Chad? My balance is super off today. I'm walking on the... Alright, chat. That's it for today. Fireworks going off. No fireworks. It was probably something else which was loud.
So,
anyway, all right, thanks for hanging, everybody. Short little walk. Hopefully see you tomorrow. We're gonna ride our bike tomorrow. Until then, as always, you know the drill. You know the drill, chat. Peace out.